we will be back with the arts program very shortly, so stay tuned.
UFS, we're here for you.
The Sturt Street UFS Pharmacy is now open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, including public holidays. We even have a nurse available every night from 6 until 10 to help with minor ailments. 24/7, 365 healthcare now available at the Sturt Street UFS Pharmacy.
We're here for you.
Proud sponsor of Voice FM.
You know, we're different.
Well, you're a bit weird, but I think I'm pretty normal.
No, I mean, community radio is different. Here we are playing hardcore music. The other presenters do country, the all Aussie music hour, 70s and 80s, new releases.
Smooth music.
And more. There's local news and information. We even have a 13-year-old presenter doing their own show weekly.
Whoa, you're right. We are different. Community radio. It's different.
All right, you are listening to the arts program with Pauline Shannesey, Dowling, and over the other side of the desk there,
It's me,
Lynden, Nichols, and
Yes.
of course we go live to air every Wednesday evening from 6 till 8 p.m.
We do. We're
And-
very regular pod.
We are, but the thing that isn't regular is my intro music didn't play tonight, so I was caught a little bit off guard. So hopefully I'll get that up and running for the end of the show so that you can hear that very familiar tune. So here we are, Wednesday evening, with a series of guests once again in to talk about the arts and associated events in and around Ballarat. And our first guest this evening is Alice Barnes. Welcome, Alice.
Hi.
I would describe you as probably a regular guest on this program.
I have been on a few times.
You
now.
have, haven't you? And of course, you're one of the educators up at Sovereign Hill, aren't you?
That's right.
And you were telling me just before, how many students have you had through Sovereign Hill this year?
We're getting close to 100,000.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
so
In a
we've broken
year.
our own records. And,
Yes.
it's flat out. It's
So
great.
when you say 100,000, is that 100,000 students that sit in that little tiny school, or does that include tour groups who perhaps don't
It's
sit
all
in
students through the door of
All
our three
students.
sites. So we've
Yeah.
got the Sovereign Hill Outdoor Museum, the Gold Museum and Narmble. And across
Oh,
those
okay.
three sites and the 4 education programs that we run across them, we've had about 100,000 students.
And as you did mention, that's a record for Sovereign Hill, isn't it?
Yeah.
Since the inception of Sovereign Hill. So that sort of seems to be kind of heading in the right direction, although I imagine there'd have to be some kind of capacity. I don't know of how many you can take in a year. I don't know.
I don't know how many more would be able to come. I think
Yeah.
we're probably at capacity
Because
in terms of what the audience
you'd
can
be running
supply.
your programs over the... Well, is it over the 5 days, like over the 5 school days, wouldn't you? So, yeah. Well, that's fantastic. Well, congratulations.
Thanks.
And so, as usual, you do have lots coming up. Tonight we're going to talk about the Corroboree by Full Moon, which is coming up this Sunday. And we're also going to talk about something called Discover Ballarat Excursions, which is, I think, for teachers to find out about what's on in and around Ballarat. And there's something else we're going to talk about too.
The Western Bait Memorial Lecture.
The Western Bait Memorial Lecture. That's next week.
Yeah, next Wednesday.
Yeah, so that's an annual event.
Yeah, we've been running it for a long time to honour Dr. Weston Bate, who wrote the sort of seminal history books that helped us build Sovereign Hill in 1970 onwards. And unfortunately, Weston passed away 2 years ago. But we continue this lecture series in his honour.
Yeah, and of course he is a well-known historian, isn't he? And all the historians out there will be well and truly very familiar with that name. So, and usually you have reasonably high-profile speakers at that, don't you? I think.
Yeah, it's a really special night. It usually books out. So if you haven't got your ticket already, have a look for it through Eventbrite. That's probably the easiest way to come across it. And of course, it's part of the History Week celebrations that we put on as part of the national sort of week of events. And this year we're going to be hearing from Dr. Sarah Hayes, who's a Senior Research Fellow at the Alfred Deakin Institute for Citizenship and Globalisation at Deakin Uni. And the title of her talk is The Gold Rush in Discarded Things. So she's looking at consumerism in the 1850s
Yeah.
and the kinds of rubbish that people left behind and what they can tell us in terms of our social history. It'll be really fascinating.
Isn't that amazing that, first of all, that a historian or researcher would come up with such a topic, but also that there are records of the kind of rubbish that people had back
I'd never
then.
really thought of rubbish in the 1850s. I suppose I'd assumed that people would reuse everything, but
Well, most things had a value. So even rags or bones or dog poo had a value, and people would collect it and use it for other things. But there were items that were discarded, and people in Ballarat dig them out of their gardens all the time. You know, little glass bottles of medicines and
Of course.
coins and
So she'll be looking into all of that, and I suppose what you can tell about the social history of Ballarat from those discarded items. How fascinating!
and it's a free event. So please come along.
But make sure you book, because as you say, it does sell out, doesn't it?
It usually does. Yeah,
Yeah.
books out.
And where is that?
It's held in the Victoria Theatre in Sovereign Hill.
Sovereign Hill.
Yeah.
At night time.
That's right. So there'll be drinks beforehand, and then people will be able to, I think it kicks off at 6.
Next
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Yeah, so
Okay.
5:30 if you want to come for a free drink, and then the lecture will start at 6.
Yep.
So
Okay.
they can't listen to me.
No,
yes, of
we
course.
do have our competitors, don't we?
We do. Well, but that's a good sign in Ballarat.
Yeah.
There's always more than one thing
Absolutely.
that you can do.
Even on a Wednesday
Even
night.
on a Wednesday
Yeah,
evening.
on hump night, yes. So now I suppose the next thing in terms of chronology is the corroboree by full moon, which also is something that people will need to make sure they book, because that also sells out up in
Yeah.
Sovereign Hill. I know it did last year.
Yeah, but we had to cancel last minute last year because we got terrible weather.
Maybe it was the year before then. Oh my goodness, was
I
that
think
only
the year
last
before
year?
It was sold out because I was too late. I remember that.
Yeah. Gosh, that year's gone nowhere. Wow. Gosh, I'm a little stunned. Anyway,
Time flies.
so the corroboree by full moon, there is a Facebook event going around, and I've shared it tonight. So make sure you have a look at that. But tell us a bit more about this event, this corroboree by full moon, Alice.
So in 2016, we put on the first Wadawurrung corroboree for 150 years, as far as Dr. Fred Carr from Federation University's research was able to tell us, through the partnership that the Sovereign Hill Museums Association has with Wadawurrung through their registered Aboriginal party. And it was such a success and the community supported it, so we've continued it ever since. And this year we hope to make it bigger and better than ever. We've actually moved the location from the dam area at Sovereign Hill up to the front of the hotel, which is a bigger space, and being at the top of Golden Point, on which Sovereign Hill is built, it's going to have a fabulous view of the night sky. And if we get a clear night, that moon will rise right behind the dancers, right behind the sand stage.
So is it a full moon?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
When we organised to do this event 12 months ago, the internet said it was going to be the 13th of October, but now it says it's the 14th of October for a full moon. So I don't know how the moon
How
changes,
bizarre.
but
Yeah.
it'll be practically full and hopefully
Maybe
gorgeous.
it's full after midnight. It only turns full after
Maybe.
midnight. I don't know enough about,
The lunar cycles.
Now, it's interesting to me that that Sovereign Hill can actually present and have a corroboree and invite public to it, because I was talking a little while ago, a few months ago with Dr. Fred Carr, and about exactly this issue, because I knew that Sovereign Hill, it's something like you can't have a type of event there that actually didn't happen
Ah, yes.
in the 1850s.
Well, we are a
40s,
museum, so
50s,
we try
because
and
you're a
present
museum. So I
historically
was
accurate
thinking,
things.
well, so did corroborees happen? And he insisted that they did, that the Indigenous people who were still around had corroborees at that time. Yeah,
Well, it was a great money-making opportunity.
that's right.
And the Wadawurrung people are an incredible adaptable community. So to survive the economic changes that colonisation brought, some of them became shepherds, some of them became, guides and, gold fossickers. They didn't necessarily dig for gold because they knew places that they could just go and pick it up out in the bush and save themselves the sweat and hard work. But they also performed corroborees for digger entertainment, and it was part of the, one of the many attractions of the goldfields that, these people from all around the world could come here and experience this really unique culture.
Yeah.
And people paid a lot of money to participate. So it's great that we're reviving that tradition, and it's very much in line with Sovereign Hill's story.
Which is really interesting, I think.
So how many people would you be expecting on Sunday night?
We've already sold 250 tickets, and there's about 50 complimentary tickets already out there for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community members across Ballarat.
So it's a big event, isn't it?
Yeah, look, we hope to sell about 500 in total.
Wow.
That'll make it a really, I think, impressive event.
Yeah.
And is it exclusively the Wathaurong who are performing this corroboree, or
No, so initially we worked directly with them, and they just wanted their community to be involved in the presentation of culture through the dance medium, I suppose. But in recent years they've opened up opportunities for other members of the community who have Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander heritage to get involved and participate, because it's just so important and so healthy to be able to practice culture. And there's so many similarities across Aboriginal communities, right here in Victoria, but even when you compare them to, the way Aboriginal people lived and continue to live in Northern Australia, it's a great opportunity to get together and celebrate and share culture with non-Aboriginal community members.
I think we're very privileged to be sort of invited to attend an event, something like this, aren't we? Because, they, as you say, they are important cultural events, and I suppose they, in some respects, they, there are aspects of them that are, that are quite private and, I suppose belong to the culture. So I sort of feel like we're very, very lucky to be able to sort of go along and witness something like this.
It's really special.
And I was thinking that's an interesting point, Pod, because sometimes when I see, even sometimes it can happen to me when I might see some traditional dance, Indigenous dance, not Bangara, but more just, a traditional dance that people might have been invited to do in the park. I sort of wonder to myself, is this, and this is my idea, it's sort of, it's interesting that I would have this thought, how appropriate that is that I'm watching this, but of course that's up to the Wathaurong who are to decide.
Yeah.
But because in the days gone by, in the 1800s, they were performed deliberately as entertainment and for money, it sort of lets me thinking that idea off the hook. Do you know what I mean? Because it's really reinvigorating and rehashing that idea of what they used to do.
And culture's a dynamic thing. So
That's right.
because we all live on this country together now, for better or for worse, I think it's a wonderful opportunity to really share in this amazing continuous culture that has existed here in Ballarat for 60,000 plus years.
The other thing too, that obviously it is growing in popularity, because did the first event, was that 500 people or was it much? Okay, so that's sort of like the capacity that the event can.
Well, we've moved it to a new space, so we can actually increase the capacity, but we'll see how ticket sales go in the next couple of days. I think people in Ballarat wait to see what the weather's going to do.
Well, I was just looking, minimum of 4 Friday night, so rug up.
Well, it's Sunday night.
It's Sunday night.
Sunday night. What's it say, Pod?
It's clearing, partly cloudy and clearing. So
maximum 18. So crossing fingers and toes.
Since you're doing it on the full moon night, or possibly very, very close to the full moon if it isn't, are you going to have any extra light, or is it just the moon?
There'll be a whole lot of stage lighting, as we've had in the last couple of years, because it just makes it look so incredible. But there'll be fires.
How many performers?
We just can't light as many fires as would have traditionally been used. You know, in Fred's recent book, he tells stories. He repeats stories from colonial, Europeans who said that as part of the corroboree, the Wathaurong community would set a whole tree on fire to illuminate the scene, and obviously our trees are a bit precious at Sovereign Hill. They're important for shade, so we can't set the whole place.
I mean, that's good that it's sort of remaining a bit cool then too, so that you can have the fires and all those sort of extra added...
Well, that's why we have tried to plan it for this time of year, to get in before fire ban, but not in the worst of Ballarat's weather.
And just before we go to a short music break, how many people are involved in the corroboree?
So there'll be about 40 people
Oh,
who
yeah.
come as dancers and supporters of the dancers because they do a whole lot of private cultural stuff before we actually get to see the performance that happens behind closed doors, and that's their business. But it's a great opportunity for the community to get together and enjoy each other's company.
Oh, it really is,
celebrate.
yes. So that's up at Sovereign Hill this Sunday evening, Sunday the 13th of October, and I think it starts at...
Gates open at 5:30 if you
5:30.
want to come in and check out the new play space, which is only just 12
Of course,
months,
yeah.
12 months old now.
Let's
And you
have
can
let's have a
dinner
bit
there.
more. Oh well, let's have a talk about all of that, about all of those extra things people can do when we come back. We'll have a quick music break, and I'm going to play a CD tonight. I don't often do that, so I feel like I'm being very groovy, like you, Lynden. And I'm playing the Underminers. Love their music. And this one is called "We All Made It Through." Let's have a listen. Oh, I've got to get the right one on. There we go.
We all got up and we hit the town. We all made it through. When the hand came down and it pulled me out and it felt like love. We all made it through. It's the subject of conjecture. Whenever we're together, whenever we're alone and blue. We all made it through. We all made it through. Now you stand alone as we crawl along, singing this song. We all made it through. It's the subject of conjecture. Whenever we're together, whenever we're alone and blue. We all made it through. We all made it through. We're through. We're through. We're through. We're through.
And that was the Underminers. We all made it through. So I think I'll play a little bit more of that CD tonight. I rather like that. And of course, you, Lynden, you'll remember to remind me to turn the right buttons and
I
things on,
will.
won't you? Yeah. Now, we're talking to Alice Barnes from Sovereign Hill, and we've been talking about the corroboree by full moon. And, of course, when you go up there to Sovereign Hill on Sunday evening, you can get something to eat. And there's going to be, I think, some bush foods, I think you said, as part of that celebration.
So people can arrive at 5:30
Yep.
or any time from there on. And the event itself will start at 7:30. But if you come early, you can bring a picnic or you can enjoy some interesting food that we'll have on offer at the Sovereign Hill Cafe that will have some bush flavours infused in it.
Okay.
And it's the best opportunity to come and check out the new play space.
Ah, yes. And we do hear a bit about the new play space, which is, I think, about a year old now.
Yeah.
It's all, quite new, I suppose. And it's big and better than ever. And-
Where is it, Alice?
It's just next to the Sovereign Hill Cafe, so between the cafe and the dam.
Right.
And we've sort of refurbed the lawn next to it as well. So it's become a really wonderful space for families just to have a bit of downtime.
Yeah.
Where they don't have to be like holding on to the toddler as they
Yeah.
lean into the goal pounding creek
Is it
or...
a great big ship? Is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a 500 ton wooden ship. Yeah. And
Fantastic.
the whole playground cost us $1.5 million. It's pretty flash.
Mm.
But it's important to have entertainment for younger audiences because often
Yes.
people bring their little kids.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
There are many other things
Yeah.
around Sovereign Hill they can enjoy. So that was sort of
So there's
thinking
lots you
behind
can do. So you can get up there when the gates open 5:30 and have a look around and have something to eat and the play space and be ready for the corroboree to start at 7:30 p.m.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Now, Discover Ballarat excursions. What's this all about?
So a bunch of Ballarat's cultural organisations and arts organisations and science organisations that run excursions as well as incursions into schools have partnered up to put on a night of free wine and the opportunity for local teachers to come along and learn about what we make available and the breadth and depth of our programs, really. Because a lot of the organisations around here find that local schools often don't ever visit, which just seems
So they'll be
crazy.
heading off to Melbourne or what have you for their excursions.
Yeah, and we
than-
all get lots of Melbourne visitors and Geelong visitors and students from further afield, but there are local schools that either don't really know what we offer or think they know but don't
Yep.
take advantage.
And you're talking, just to reiterate, you're talking all of Ballarat, what the whole of Ballarat has to offer, not just Sovereign Hill.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
So tell us some things.
Well, there's lots of great programs going on across at the Art Gallery, at Eureka Centre, at the Wildlife Park, at Crowell Castle, the Aviation Museum, the Tramway Museum, Botanic Gardens. There's heaps of different opportunities around here, making excursions, accessible to
Yeah.
Ballarat kids. You don't have to put them on a bus or on a train and
Yeah.
take them all the way to Melbourne to have world-class
yeah. Well, I suppose
non-school learning opportunities.
it's a good reminder, isn't it, to remind teachers about what's available. And it's happening it's on the 16th, which I think is next Wednesday evening as well.
It's from 4:30 to
Sorry,
6:30.
Lynden.
Yeah.
4:30 to 6:30, so you can get a glass of wine and you'll hear from Sovereign Hill, the Art Gallery, all of those places that Alice has just been listing about what's available, and a lot of it will be related to curriculum as well, won't it?
That's
a lot
right,
of the
yep.
opportunities. So
And there's a keynote speaker who'll open the event, and her name's Sophie Fenton. She actually grew up here and she
Okay.
has done some really interesting things in the education sector, including starting up her own school, and she's been an academic. And hearing from her I think will be really fascinating. And then teachers will have the chance to come and talk to all the education officers from the various local organisations, and then they'll win some awesome prizes by hanging around. So if they want a
Fantastic.
free excursion for their students or a free family membership, there's all kinds of things up for grabs.
yeah, and I imagine that you could probably be sort of perhaps checking out the calendar and probably starting to get that process. Well, in order, I suppose it'd be maybe for the rest of this year, but mainly next year. Like thinking about excursions for next year. I suppose there's not that much longer left this year, is there?
No, schools tend to plan a long way ahead
Yeah.
with this sort of thing to make
Yeah.
sure they've dotted all their I's
Yeah.
and crossed their T's.
And
Where and when is that again? Next
So
Wednesday?
it's happening next Wednesday, the 16th of October at the Ballarat Tech School. So if you haven't been there, it's a great chance to check out their amazing
Albert
facilities.
Now,
Street?
there's
In
a
Albert
few
Street.
buildings in Albert Street that look like they could be the tech school. So is it the building that the overpass runs into? It's not that building, is it?
I
It's
don't think
one
so.
further down there.
It's
Yeah,
in-
it's the new Flash building
Yeah.
when you get onto Albert Street.
it's actually
that
in
says-
Albert Street, not Grant
Oh,
Street.
okay.
So so it is
So
that.
is it the Flecknoe building? No.
It's next to the Flecknoe
Yeah.
building. It's if you're
In
looking.
Albert Street.
Yeah, if you're looking at the buildings, it's to the left of the Flecknoe and it says Ballarat
Okay.
Technical School.
Right.
So instead of looking at Flecknoe, you're looking, it's got the title up there.
And it's 6
Yeah.
o'clock.
No, 4:30 to
Oh,
6:30.
4:30 to 6:30.
And it's free for teachers to attend. We'd appreciate it if they book tickets just so we can make sure catering is sufficient, and they can find tickets through ballarattickets.com.
Fantastic. Well, good luck with all of that. And I know there is a Facebook event for that going around as well. So we shall reshare that also. So very busy few days coming up for you, Alice.
Yes.
And lots of other teachers and educators out there. And it's only week one of the term, isn't it?
That's right.
So, well, thank you so much for coming in.
My pleasure.
Good luck with everything. And we know that you'll let us know next time something else is coming up. But just a reminder to people, the Western Bait Lecture is when is that one
Next
again?
Wednesday.
Oh, that's next Wednesday too.
They're both on Wednesday. Which is
So Western Bait, Corroboree by Full Moon this Sunday, and then the Ballarat Excursions event is on next Wednesday as well. So lots and lots happening. So get into it, folks. All right, I'm going to play. Well, I'm going to play some more Underminers, and I'm just going to play the second tune. It's called Remembering. Enjoy this, folks, and we'll be back with the arts program very shortly.
We forget each other. We forget ourselves. No one's keeping minutes. Probably just as well. What would I do with all that remembering? Remembering must come in moments that pass, because it's all too much, because it's all too much. Remembering must come in moments that pass, because it's all too much, because it's all too much. I feel I was at my best when I didn't know it, when everybody told me that I wasn't. What would I do with all that remembering? Remembering must come in moments that pass, because it's all too much, because it's all too much. Remembering must come in moments that pass, because it's all too much, because it's all too much. Get back in touch with the people who touched you. Get back in touch with the people who touched you. All I do this summer is think of all of you. I'm picking up the phone and putting it down again. What would we do with all that remembering? Remembering must come in moments that pass, because it's all too much, because it's all too much. Remembering must come in moments that pass, because it's all too much, 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 because it's all too much.
All right. Well, that was the Underminers, a song called Remembering. Hope you're enjoying that, folks, as much as I am. You are listening to the arts program, and my name is Pauline Shannesey Dowling, otherwise known as Pod, and with me in the studio tonight is Lynden Nichols, as always. And as you know, we go to air every Wednesday evening from 6 till 8 p.m. with arts interviews and arty news and everything that's happening around the place. Arts-wise and creatively. And right now we have Barry Wemyss and Megan Reidl in the studio.
Hi, Pod.
How are you?
Hi, well, good.
Barry, I was just about to say to you, you may need to come a little close to the microphone, but your voice sounds pretty good there, actually. You've got some good timbre happening there.
Got a deep voice.
He
Pod.
has, yeah.
Say something.
A bit of deeper resonance.
Yeah, very deep.
It's the best voice for radio.
And very good projection. So
I'm putting on my radio voice, Pod, especially for you.
don't distract me too much.
I'll do the interviewing, is that okay?
Well, you might have to do a guest spot if you get too smart alecky. Megan, you're a regular on the show, so you know exactly everything.
Yeah, you can't get rid of me now.
Everything
now that
goes,
you've let me in, that's it. That's the
everything
end.
that goes on around here. No, we love guests like that, and of course, you two are going to talk about the Smythesdale Arts and Music Fiesta, which is, I think, it's the inaugural event. Would that be right, Baz?
It is.
And it's coming up on Sunday, the 20th of October. Out in Smythesdale, of course.
Coming up very soon.
Which is your local
It is.
area.
That's where I grew up, Pod.
That's where you grew up.
It's my turf.
That's that's where you have your Red Echidna Studios, where you make all of your pots.
Just over the hill.
Just over the hill, so you know the area very well.
I do.
And listen, tell me what made you think of running an arts and music fiesta?
Well, the Golden Plains ran a arts trail, as you recall, for 10 years, and they
For 10 years?
10 years, it
Wow.
ran, and that was very good. I'm
Wow.
part of an organisation called Golden Plains Arts Incorporated.
Mm.
And when they ceased supporting that, they decided to put their money in other ways, community art-wise. I threw this across the table, this concept of something for the north end of the Shire.
Mm.
And they said, yeah, good, go for it, Barry. So Barry's going for it. And wondering why.
It's a brave thing to do, but it's a wonderful thing to do as well.
It's a challenge, but
Yeah.
it is. It's something I believe giving to community, doing things for community, and giving it a bit of a shake.
Yeah.
So has there been sort of a committee that's helped
Small committee, lots of shoving from behind and encouragement. So mainly Anne Langdon, local artist, trying to involve as many people locally as possible, drawing on people like Megan with experience in other fields that, as you do. I'm the sort of rusty axle in the wheel, and people like Megan are the spokes holding the all together.
Yes, Megan,
What a lovely metaphor.
Megan, you're organising events hand over fist, I would say, in Ballarat.
Yes, so I've done my fair share of organising events in the past.
So, as part of the Fiesta, what are you doing?
Yeah, so I'm going to be running an open mic poetry competition or spoken word competition. Doesn't have to be poetry. So what we're going to do is gather together in the through the Gate Cafe on the main road there in Smythesdale, share some words, have a arvo tea, and just generally celebrate all things wordy.
So people can just sort of drop in and have they might have something prepared that they might want to present or do something
absolutely.
ad lib on the spot or what have you.
Yeah, so I'll do a couple of poems. We've got a couple of guests from the Ballarat Words Out Loud lined up, so we'll have a few people there ready to perform, and then anyone is more than welcome to come along with a piece of writing, whether it's poetry or prose or something else, original or not, and have a go. So
I know that you're involved in a lot of the. You've recently been part of the poetry slam.
Yes.
With events like that, I always think it sounds really exciting, and I often think, I should have a go at that. But then I talk myself out of it. But do you find that people are keen to kind of get up there and share their work?
Yeah, I think so. I think people come along thinking, I don't know, and they've got their little bit of paper in their bag and they're a bit apprehensive.
Yeah.
And then once you're there and you're seeing people read, and there's a range of levels, you know, some people might have memorised theirs and be really experienced and have a great delivery style. Other people might have the nerves of getting in, or they might have just, you know, reading it off the page, and that's fine too. And so I think that then encourages people to say, oh, well, I can do that. I can read off a page and in front of people and give it a go. Yeah.
Do you ever have at those events really young people, like
Yes.
young teens, say for example?
Yeah, absolutely. At the Poetry Slam, which I was just at the State Library, there was 2 girls who were finalists from their heat. One was 11 and one was 10.
Gosh.
And they came up with their memorised piece and performed it, and they were fantastic. And yeah, at the Geelong heat of the Poetry Slam, there was a young teenage boy who did a poem about climate change. So absolutely, yeah, we do get all ages,
Yeah.
which is great.
So now we'll hear more about that in a little while. So that's one of the things that you can experience and be part of and enjoy as part of the Arts and Music Fiesta.
I have put that out there, Pod, looking for inviting people to participate. So if they want to give me a call, which is what I have asked them to do on posters and all sorts of manner of promotion.
Yeah. So if you want to be involved in that,
They can rock up on the
Yeah,
day,
rock
obviously,
up
but
on
it's
the day
nice to
or-
know beforehand if they want to book in.
yeah, fantastic.
Same with open mic music.
Tell us a little bit about that venue, because I hadn't heard about. So there's a cafe in the main street.
Yeah,
Yes,
so if you
beautiful
know
little cafe.
Smythesdale at all, there's like a antique shop on the main street there, and then it's kind of next to and in behind there. So it's a little bit hidden, but it's a lovely little cafe.
Where is it in relation to the pub? Because that's what I keep thinking
on the
about.
opposite side, further
Opposite
down.
side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So what else is happening at the Fiesta?
Well, as I mentioned, the other open mic that is open for opportunity is at the hotel, as you just mentioned.
So open mic music.
Open mic music.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Preceded by some music, as will be at the Through the Gate. Have to get it right. through the Gate Cafe. Some music beforehand during lunchtime, and then go into the open mic segment.
Fantastic.
So there's entertainment, there's opportunity for have a nice meal, etc., both at the hotel and at the cafe.
Yes.
Opposite the hotel, where you might say is the main event.
So there's a park across the road from the hotel,
There
isn't
is
there?
in history, it was the old police precinct. They demolished the house and police office. The jail and the horse stables are still there. The Historical Society will be on site in costume.
Okay. That
Doing
sounds
things,
like fun.
and
Adding a bit of
the courthouse itself will
what do
be
you,
open.
what do you call it? A bit of
Like reenactment.
yeah, a bit of sort of a extra feel to the weekend. Yeah.
Well,
It
I'm
yeah.
trying to make it community involved, and they are doing. I've invited them to do their thing.
Yeah.
And at the what they call the well, which there is a well in the backyard, one of those lovely old brick covered wells. At the community centre, Golden Plains Community Centre, I have invited some quite well established, nationally known, some artists to exhibit, about 15 artists to exhibit their work.
Okay, so they'll be exhibiting indoors, outdoors,
Indoors.
in the.
2-dimensional, 3-dimensional art.
Yep. So where will that be exactly, Barry?
That is what they commonly term the well, but it's the community centre.
Okay.
Which is just round the
Where-
corner, sort of, isn't
Yes, it is.
Yes,
yeah. It's got the chemist and the doctors,
Yeah.
and then the
It's
community
all
centre
under
in the
one
back. Yeah.
Yeah.
precinct.
And I'm sure when people turn up, it'll be clear. We're talking about an abstract right now. It'll be clearer when people turn
Yeah.
up. Now,
I
who
will
are
have-
some of these nationally known artists that you speak of?
Nationally known, well, I think they are nationally known, and some people as artists, they sort of get a bit humble. But
let's forget about
but
that. And let's
pe-
be
people like,
non-humble. yeah.
people like
Blow our own trumpets, but
Vita Pearson, for example, she's very, very well known.
Indeed.
Selling works international.
Yep. And what sort of work? It's lino prints mainly.
Very beautiful, mostly.
She does a lot of
wildlife, birds.
Australian fauna, doesn't she?
Type. Yeah, exactly. Beautiful work. Quite large, some, and hand coloured prints. Ruby and Pete Pilvin.
Father and daughter.
Yeah. With their ceramics.
Ceramics.
Yeah.
Ros Lawson.
So Ros does a lot of drawing and making of. She works with paper a lot, doesn't she?
Well, she does. She will have some quite large painted works. Yeah, I haven't seen them yet, but I believe they're reasonable size works.
You're featuring local artists.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Drawing a little bit on Ballarat, but trying to keep it as local as possible.
Yeah,
does it?
fantastic.
And there is other art, like Kate Byers, for example, is Haddon, which is, again, just over the hill.
And of course, Kate has been part of the Ballarat Evolve project and currently has a studio in the centre of Ballarat in that little arcade that I can never remember the name of.
Is it near Target?
Yes. Yeah. So in that little arcade along there, and so she's got her
She's
studio.
been there a while.
Yes, she has.
And kicking plenty of goals. She's selling well.
She's doing very well, yeah. So you'll be able to see her work as well, which will be great.
Yep.
Yeah. And of course, a lot of people will know Ruby Pilvin. Her work
Susan
is.
McRae.
Let me just finish talking about Ruby first, then we'll get to Susan. But Ruby's work is very distinctive. A lot of people know it. And of course, she's Pete Pilvin's daughter.
Yeah.
She does use beautiful glazes and a lot of gold in her work and makes some really beautiful and fun objects. Yeah.
Very colourful and attractive work.
And see her work in lots of different places.
She is all over.
Yeah. She's doing very well, isn't she? Which is great. Yeah. And sorry, Barry, I did interrupt you. Who was the other artist?
Susan McRae is not local, but Susan McRae with her lovely, quirky fox.
Hip decay.
Cats, whatever they are.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I've heard of her. Yeah, they're cool.
What does she
cats.
do?
They're like sort of little figurine type things.
Cats, C-A-T.
They're like little figurines of animals with kind of
Yeah.
distressed sort of clothes and things.
Three-dimensional.
Yeah, 3D.
Oh.
Yeah. You can actually see them in the Art Gallery of Ballarat gift shop still, I think.
Yes.
But they're very sort of, they've got a real vintage kind of a feel.
Oh, I know.
Really cute little faces and foxes and cat kind of looking creatures.
They're
They're
very
beautiful.
original, but she's selling in Sydney and other interstate places.
That sounds like a really great lineup, Barry. I'm really looking forward to
there are some really
seeing
good artists.
And of course yourself, surely.
Well, maybe if I have time.
He's too busy organising it.
but I'm trying to draw the public, the general people who don't know so much about art, to get out, get them out of their bunkers and have a look and see what's happening in their backyard.
Indeed, because there is so much happening and there is so much talent in the region, and it's nice, it's nice to get out and do something a little bit different and get out and meet the community and just have a wander. I love nothing more than to on a Saturday or Sunday just go wandering around, not doing too much. I really love it and just enjoying the vibe.
Well, and the artists with their stalls, I've selected especially artists, and I'm terming them artisans.
Yes. We'll forgive you for that on this occasion.
They are artists who are making their own work. It's not junky sort of art.
Oh, no, you wouldn't have anything like that.
They're just commercial and purchased somewhere internationally. And
Barry, is this exhibition only on for that day?
It is, unfortunately, only for that day.
It's a Fiesta for the day. Barry, you're a brave man. There's no doubt about it.
Well, I just hope people come out.
What have you learnt, Barry, from trying to organise this? Well, from organising this.
Tell us all the good
Ask
things.
Me off air.
Yes, tell us after.
No, look, seriously, what was the question? Why am I doing it?
What have you learnt? What are you learning? Like, what's the learning curve?
He thought he was a patient man, but he's actually not. Sorry, Barry.
No, I'm just rolling along, Lynden. Yes, I'm probably learning things along the way, but learning patience. I'm always known to be a patient person, Lynden. You're putting pressure on me.
But I think that is one
What have I
skill
learned?
that events
Yeah.
organisers do actually
Yeah.
have to have. It's patience
What I
combined with
have
precision.
learnt is it's one thing to have an idea. It's another thing to actually
Put it into
sell it.
fruition.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I always
I'm-
find the marketing is
I'm not
the
the
hardest
extrovert.
thing.
But
Yeah.
the other thing too is though that anything like this, I mean, it takes a number of iterations for it to kind of get going as well.
Yes.
Like, Rome wasn't built in a day. That's what they say. But it's sort of, to get something kind of up and running, kind of year after year.
Well,
it takes.
Yeah.
I would like
Yeah.
it to be an annual event. That would be great if it gets legs and other
Yeah.
people get behind it.
Yeah, you've just
Community-wise.
got to keep sort of plugging away, don't
Yeah.
you? And
Yeah, start small and
get your
room to grow.
get your
People
team
like the
together.
Progress Association. They're financially supporting as well as other community bodies.
And so, look, tell us a little bit about what other things the public can get involved in while they're there. So we've got poetry, we've got music, and what
Well,
else can people kind of do while they're there, other than eat?
There is some workshop activities that
Yep.
one is weaving with not so local anymore, but was weaving with natural fibres quite often, and she does some exquisite work.
So people can actually have a go at doing
that. That is
that?
a walk-up type situation,
Fantastic.
indoors.
Weaving's one of those things that always remains very popular in the community, I think. Like, it's just something that you can... There are lots of different workshops you
Yeah.
can go to learn
It's very
weaving.
therapeutic.
It is. Yeah, it's a
So,
lovely thing to do.
Yeah.
The other workshop was outdoor, and that's more of a mural type situation.
Okay.
We've spoken a little bit about that. So, trying to hold that together.
Yeah, so like anything like this, you're sort of organising things right up to the last minute, aren't you? It's always like that. So
Well, it is, and it tends to expand and then pull it back a little bit.
and look, speaking of that, Barry, I suppose
trying to get that community people,
Yeah.
and get them there and
Yeah.
enjoy.
might you be
be a
looking
participant.
might you be looking for volunteers in the future to help you organise the event, or have you got all of that sorted? Or
I haven't thought beyond this one, but
Okay.
just the thought that I have had beyond this one is an annual event. That's,
Yeah.
that's another step.
so you need a committee to kind of keep
Yeah,
it.
definitely. And I think if this demonstrates the possibilities that it has legs, people will get behind it.
Oh, absolutely.
As people have said, when I put my hand out, maybe next year. Well, if it doesn't go properly this year,
Yeah,
there won't be a next year. But
Well, well, the other thing too is
At least-
Smythesdale is one of those locations that people know about, partly because of the antique store and the big pub out there. So it's one of those places that I know people do like to go for a Sunday drive or whatever.
A lot of history in
Yeah.
Smythesdale.
Yeah.
Oh, we're talking about the Chinese history on the goldfields in general, but wind and sound, if I've got it the right way around.
Yes.
They're
their
documentary.
Wind and Sky.
Wind and Sky.
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, production. Wind and-
Two short documentary films around documenting Chinese activities, etc. That
Yeah.
will also play in the well.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you've got...
not
Oh,
in
that's
the
great.
well, but in
Not in the well.
Not down the well.
Barry,
Although that'd be really interesting if you had played a film from within a well. That
in a separate
you
room
had to look down it.
across
Just putting
from
it out there.
the exhibition space.
Barry, do you know when you said early on in the interview that people had to apply for some of the monies that had previously gone to the Golden Plains Arts Trail, and you applied or came up with this idea for the Fiesta? Do you know of some other events that are happening within the Golden Plains to replace the Arts Trail?
There is another arts trail. This group that I'm a member of, Golden Plains Arts Incorporated, are 70 plus members, have 70 plus membership, and they ran a small arts trail early this year in place of it, but with the success of that and encouragement of that, it will run again next year in march as it had done previously.
And that was on a smaller geographical...
It was, yeah.
So what towns did that incorporate? Or where was that?
Golden Plains is from Geelong to Ballarat and almost all small towns in between. And
No, but I was saying this new one wasn't as big as the last whole Golden Plains. Wasn't this one more focused?
it was intended to be more in the Bannockburn area, but other people said, we want to be a part of that. So it did.
So it opened out.
It did grow a little bit.
Okay.
And I think with this next arts trail, there is something like 50 plus artists.
Wow.
So how is it different from the original arts trail, but they said it's not happening anymore? I don't quite understand.
I don't get it either.
It's
Run by a different mob of people?
It's one of the same. It's virtually the same model, except not run by council. It's run by Golden Plains Arts Inc., which is a group of artists themselves running the organisation.
And the previous ones were
running the
run
trial.
by council.
Correct.
Okay. Let's get back to the event itself. Now, Megan,
Yes.
writer, theatre director, etc.,
Yes.
involved in lots of writing events. You've been to the Poetry Slam in Melbourne this week, so you're going to be running the spoken word part of the Fiesta, and you are welcoming people to come along to perform on the day.
Absolutely. 2 p.m. Sunday the 20th
Yep.
at the Through the Gate Cafe,
And
Smythesdale.
I think you're going to perform a little piece of your
I
work.
can, yeah, I can if you'd like. I'm going to perform a piece called Ways to Love, which is the poem that I presented at the Australian Poetry Slam state final last weekend.
With the Poetry Slam, what does that actually mean?
That means it's a competition, it's a 2-minute time slot, and it's audience voted. So you have to really wow the audience. They're usually often political, sometimes personal, just really hard-hitting kind of poems. And it's you get a score out of 30, and the audience votes for who they like on the night.
Is it great fun? Do you love
It's fantastic fun. Yeah, the best thing I love about it, which I haven't found happens anywhere else apart from poetry events, is that during the performance, if people like what the poet's saying, they click. So click with their fingers. So instead of kind of clapping or whooping to disrupt the poet, you just do a little click, or you can sort of go, yeah. And it's really interesting, to hear that sort of wave of
I've heard about the
people
click.
when people like what's being said.
Yeah.
So I've got my fingers ready.
Okay, please.
Well, can I do it? Okay, there we go.
All right, get your fingers ready. Okay, this is called Ways to Love. I was talking to my sister about love. She said she couldn't understand me. She said we were like two different balls of wool. She was wound so neatly, so tightly bound for safety, the loose ends tucked right up into the centre. She could never be unravelled. And I was like a mess of thrums, one part of me stitched into my lover's too heavy doona, one part of me caught on that random hookups jacket, another part still tied around my ex-husband's thumb, and I thought, damn, I keep trying NSA, but I'm all strings. I leave a trail, a Hansel Gretel path to my inconvenient truth. Well, how else do you find your way home to yourself after you've prized someone else's heart out of your chest and crushed it? How else do I know where I don't want to go back to? I was talking to my friend about love. He said he was lonely. He said he just wanted someone to love him unconditionally, and I thought, damn, that sounds dangerous. Your head in the sand like a climate change denier. You keep sowing seeds, knowing full well there'll be no rain. But you tell everyone there'll be rain until you believe it. You keep loving someone even when they don't deserve it. And I thought, damn, where's Al Gore when you need him? With no strings attached and unconditional on either end of a spectrum graphic in a TED Talk entitled Ways to Love. Hard science facts about how much love sucks, but how good are boundaries? And I thought, damn, maybe I'll just die alone.
Oh,
Thank you. Thanks for the clicking.
that's amazing.
Thanks very much.
Yeah,
Beautiful,
gorgeous.
beautiful.
I love the
Well,
damn bit. Damn. Yeah.
I like the bit about the thrums. Because they're the little
Now-
ends that you
and
cut
that's
off.
only because of your posts about Granny Squares pod that I know what thrums even are.
Yeah, so they're the bits that you cut off at the end when you finish sewing in the ends of your wool.
They're called thumbs.
They're called thrums.
Thrums.
Oh, I'm so
That's
pleased.
my new favourite word
Yeah.
from you, pod. So
Well, I learnt that from one of my sisters.
Does it have a B on the end, like thumb, or
no, I don't think so.
THRUM, thrum.
just like hum, sort of?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Oh, well, that's fabulous. So, folks, you could be out in Smythesdale learning from the master on Sunday, the 20th of October at the Smythesdale Arts and Music Fiesta. I love the name Fiesta. It just gives that whole feel of, yay, we're having such great fun.
Wow,
I love
that's
it.
what we do.
Of course you will.
We
yeah,
will.
Yeah,
well,
you
the
will.
people particularly, that's what we
So
will do.
that's Sunday week. It'll be a load of fun, and there's a Facebook event people can hook
Look
up
us up
to.
on Facebook, yes.
Absolutely.
And so you can go to the event. There are all sorts of different ways you can get involved and participate. So it's a great opportunity.
It
And
is. It's about
congratulations
participation.
to you, Barry, for coming up with the idea and giving it a red hot go. And we hope to have you in the studio again this time next year talking about it again. But before then as well. But, you know, I'm talking
I
about
understand.
longevity. Yeah. So
All good.
did we cover enough, do you think? Did we need to say anything else about that at this stage?
We've
Yeah.
done well. We
Oh.
have done well.
I thought you might say that. All right. And you're listening to the Arts Program, and my name is Pauline Shannesey Dowling, otherwise known as Pod. And with me in the studio is Lynden Nichols, as usual. And also we have David Dahlenburg with us right now, don't we, David?
That's close enough. Yeah, g'day.
Yeah.
And I'm just about to take David's photo as evidence. That's all right, David, is it, for our Facebook page?
Oh, sure.
Excellent.
Yep.
Carry on, Pod.
David, you've come in this evening to tell us about a music series at the Ballarat Mechanics Institute that's coming up very soon.
Well, it started already.
Okay.
This is number 2 in the series, and this is the third series over the last 3 years, and this one is being supported by Creative Victoria. So we've finally got some funding to bring up some different artists.
Fantastic.
And vary it again. The whole concept of the music series, and we call it a music series and not a jazz series, even though there is some jazz overtones, is that there's a diversity with the range of presentations that we do. And we've got 5 different nights, and we've already had one on the 24th of August, and we've got one coming up on the 19th.
Yes.
With something completely different. And just to fill you in on how this all came about, there's 2 guys in Melbourne by the name of Robbie Melville and Ronnie Farella, and both those guys are not only instrument teachers or music teachers at various universities and whatever, but they're well connected with the music scene in Melbourne, and through their connections and whatever, we've been able to come to bring to Ballarat some very diverse and amazing musicians over the years. And this range of people in this series is again completely different than anything we've brought to Ballarat. So
well, congratulations on that.
yeah,
It's wonderful.
no, I'm
Yeah.
really surprised at just the quality of performances we've had over the series, and it's because these guys just know so many different musicians in not only Melbourne but in Australia. So
What's their connection to, like, how come they're helping us find different musicians to come up here?
they love the Humphrey Room in the Mechanics Institute,
Yeah.
and for the listeners, it's a small heritage room. Lynden knows it very well, I'm sure, Pauline probably. But it's a large room with a high ceiling, carpeted. The acoustics in there are beautiful, and a lot of the music that has been performed during these series has been acoustic music.
And it's fairly intimate space, isn't it?
Yeah, it fits about 100 people or a bit less.
It feels intimate. You know,
Yeah,
it's not a
yeah.
big barn sort of
No,
thing.
no, it's not. We set it up with tables, so it's a bit like a club. A bar at one end and stage at the other. Well, not a stage, but a dance floor that we convert into a stage. And just have people on tables and chairs, so it's more like a bar feel than a concert as such. And usually the sort of 50 or 60 people that come along, it just fills out the room nicely. These guys get to perform in something different. The other major thrust is they wanted to bring a lot of this music to regional Victoria. And that's where Creative Victoria came into it, because they could see the purpose behind what these guys have done. They've already done it for 2 years off their own bat, and now they're coming back with some support to actually...
So has it been running at the BMI the whole time? Like
yes,
in
the Humphrey Room.
Yeah,
And so it's partly bringing that music out of Melbourne or out of Sydney or wherever they're touring from, and bringing them to Ballarat and presenting them in this lovely old heritage room. So that's and they come up with their own groups originally, and then they've come back with different reincarnations, and then this series they're bringing in different people that they know through their connections.
So how many different musicians will be coming up throughout this series?
Well, let's talk about the one on October the 19th, and I'm going to hopefully pronounce her name correctly, but her name is Cheryl Duron-Pizitskul, and she's got a 8-piece group that she's bringing up, and these are all young people. This is someone that I asked Ronnie today, how would I describe Cheryl, and she said she's a young heavyweight. Yeah, that's how we described it in the Melbourne sort of jazz scene. So she's all these folks are young, and that's another thing. I mean, a lot of the musicians we brought up in the past, they've sort of been catering for an older demographic. Whereas,
have we got some of her music on this CD?
I've got you to queue up Mary Doomany, who's also playing, and
on the 19th.
On the 19th, and she is a jazz harpist and very well respected throughout Australia. She tours sort of Europe and Japan and writes like I've got a whole range of things that in here that I can read out, but she's composed music for harp ensembles, and she's recorded with Paul Grabowski and David Jones, who are sort of fairly well known in that jazz. And so, and she plays and not only plays harp but sings and also composes, and she plays her own music as well as jazz standards. So that in the Humphrey Room is going to sound pretty amazing.
Fantastic. And as far as I can see, a ticket to one of these events is only $20. And
$20, $15 concession, and for BMI members, $15.
So you're seeing really great quality music for a very affordable price in a beautiful venue, lovely acoustics, and in the Humphrey Room where there's a bar, you can get a drink and kick back and really enjoy the evening.
Yeah, look, it's it's also, I'll just quickly explain what else is coming up. On November the 30th, we have a Brazilian night. So we've got a duo called the Ontro Tango Duo, and also a fairly well-known Brazilian band in Melbourne called the Panorama Brazil.
Yes.
And they've got
happens to us all the time.
A guest vocalist called Danny Mayer, who's also, I mean, they've all got websites and they've got on YouTube and whatever. So that's a Brazilian night. And then on next January, on Friday the 31st, we've got a gypsy jazz duo who've already been up here. Yeah, this guy on accordion is the most amazing player.
And what's his name? What's the name of the gypsy jazz duo?
It's led by a guy called John Delaney, who's plays in different groups in Melbourne, but he also plays in a what's called a jazz manouche style.
Okay, that would be fun.
Gypsy orchestra.
Is there room for people to dance in the Humphrey Room? Can you get up and dance, or is that not? Is that frowned upon?
Well, there is. Yeah. There hasn't been much dancing, but
you'd have to a gypsy jazz. Duo, wouldn't you? Get up and move.
What instruments are in the gypsy?
Accordion and acoustic guitar, and they're also playing in a band that's doing interpretations of Beach Boys music. And that band's called Fun of all. And the two guys that are behind all this, Robbie Melville and Ronnie Farella, they're coming back in March with their two bands, Antilotic and Omelette, to sort of finish off the series.
Is It's Ronnie Fenella, isn't it? Is he local? Is he from Ballarat?
No, he's in Melbourne. He's a Melbourne teacher and drummer with various bands.
Yeah.
You know, he's most people you mention his name, they know him.
Yeah, and unfortunately he wasn't able to make it tonight, but hopefully next time something's coming up, he might be able to come in and have a bit of a chat. And so, what's your connection, David? You're the local connection, are you?
Well, I was, as Lynden knows, ex-venue manager at the Mechanics.
Yes.
So through my job there, I was working with these guys, and now since I've retired, I've just stuck at it, and now I'm just helping out, sort of working with them and making sure that they're happy and blah blah. So what's come out of that is if Ronnie says, "Oh, look, I'm stuck in Melbourne, Dave, can you pop into the arts program?"
Oh, you're a good man.
Yeah, no, that's what he said. Yeah,
and
he's getting the drift. I'm finally.
David, the other thing too is that these events are all listed on the Ballarat Mechanics Institute Facebook page as well, so people can find out more about each of these events.
Yeah, mainly on the website. The Facebook page, has got these, but the Facebook page has got information on them. On Mary Duminy and Cheryl Durham Pitter School.
I was practicing that one as well, but I'm glad that you took the lead and did it.
Well, I rang Ronnie and said, "How do you pronounce Cheryl's name?" And he said, "I don't know. Just,
I think
have a crack."
I think you've done pretty well. Yeah. Hey, now the other thing I noticed today too is if you're a member of the Ballarat Mechanics Institute, you get another discount for your tickets as well.
Yeah, that's just...
so you can get a Mechanics Institute membership. I can't remember off the top of my head how much they are.
They're 50 and 60.
Yeah, for annually. Yeah.
So what do you actually get? So you might get a concession on this. What else is the advantage of being a member?
Well, we want to develop the membership so that you can get discounts to BMI presentations, but it's really, a lot of it's to do with the library and people utilising the library.
Yeah.
And I'd say that's 90% of people that are members because they want to utilise the resources of the BMI and also the library.
And David, I think some people have the conception that the library in the Mechanics Institute is just full of a heap of old books, but it's not. That's not necessarily the case, is it?
No. Look,
they get lots of new, current fiction.
Well, I think
I can't believe how much new stuff they get a month.
Yeah, that's right.
Just,
but I think there is a particularly in the library itself. There is a particularly good collection of a particular genre, isn't there? It's not science fiction or something like that, is it, David?
Oh,
I thought there was
asking me. This is out of my domain, really.
Well, we can. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the library there is well known for a particular genre, as well as other genres.
Be interesting to get somebody in from the library. To talk.
We can do that.
Yeah,
we'll do it.
Yeah, well, Rosemary would be the one.
Yes, Rosemary, of course. Yeah. How long were you venue manager there, David?
Just on 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. And I worked with, the whole thing about the mechanics is not just music, but it's the whole arts area too.
Oh, indeed.
And of course, you'd know Amy, of course, who was involved with a lot of that.
Yeah, she was there for a few years, yeah.
So we worked together a fair bit over those years. Yeah. But it's been, my role has been just facilitating the various community input.
Well, there's a lot of different functions there at any one time, isn't there? Like there are the different rooms and...
Yeah, there is. The manoeuvre station. I should mention, while that's popped in, that there's a group of guys and girls coming on Friday night called Tea and Oranges, and it's a concert celebrating the songs of Leonard Cohen. And they were going to be in the Humphrey room, but they've moved to the manoeuvre space, which is the larger room.
Because so many people want to go?
It's over 100, I think. So
hey, before we go too much...
You can still get tickets, even though they thought it was sold out, but now they've moved, you can still get tickets.
Well, that's great. Leonard Cohen's always popular. Before we go too much further on that track, did you want me to play any music from this CD before we get too far away from...
play some Mary Duminy. Yeah. The track that Ronnie sent isn't jazz, but it's sort of an ambient, atmospheric piece.
So this is Mary Duminy.
Yep.
Dumany. And she's also performing on Saturday the 19th.
That's right.
Yeah, and so I've got the CD here. Wish me luck. I'm not great with playing the CDs, but, I'll get the hang of it one day. So let's have a listen to that, and we'll be back. And then you're going to tell us more about all sorts of things. I can see you champing at the bit there. Yeah. All right, stay with us, folks. That was Mary Dumani, I think that's how you pronounce it. What a beautiful sound that is. She's going to be playing at the BMI on Saturday the 19th of October. A solo harpist. She's a Victorian-based composer, harpist, singer and lyricist, considered to be Australia's most accomplished jazz harpist. And she's coming to Ballarat. That was beautiful. Yeah.
Wasn't very jazzy, but she does play jazz. But that was one of her more ambient pieces that she's composed.
Now, interesting fact we found out just now off air, David, you used to be the station manager here once upon a time.
Yeah, well...
So Lynden and I are currently on our best
now?
behaviour
Yes,
right
we are.
now.
Watching our P's and Q's,
Yeah.
David.
That's
Making
right.
sure we've got our sound levels right.
Yes. Oh, dear. I won't say anything.
But we've also discovered that the BMI music program has workshops. Quite a number of them, David. Tell us about those.
Well, again, through Ronnie Farella, there's various people that have been coming up who do also teach. And the first one we had on the 24th of August was with Steve Mangerson, who's a fairly famous guitar player around Australia. And that was fairly successful. Ronnie's doing this one on working with the rhythm section. So it's a special one on just drumming techniques and that sort of thing. So that's for any drummers there who want to. It's $10 to get in, and you can come along and listen to a gun drummer talk about sort of drumming and styles and whatever. And I'm sure he won't get too technical for the range of people that'll be there. But this is what he does for a living, and he's going to do a workshop on the 19th at 5:30 in the Hooper Room, which is downstairs at the Mechanics Institute. So that's also on Saturday the 19th.
Fantastic.
So
So you could theoretically come to the workshop and then stay on for the
that's right.
concert.
Yeah, I suppose. So and there's various people in doing workshops through. So they're always before the actual performance of the night. It's not necessarily someone who's in one of those bands, but. So there's various workshops as well on that same day as the music performances.
And the one I'm noticing, David, on Saturday the 30th of November, this should be attractive to quite a few people, I think, ways to get better at reading music.
Yeah.
So you need to already
probably sit there downing on yourself, and not really improving much with falling into your own habits of how you can't read music very well or whatever. But if you did a little workshop in it, I think that'd be great.
Yeah. So these people are all teachers at Monash Uni and various other schools of music or whatever that obviously know Ronnie and are coming up to do workshops as a part of the music series as well. Yeah. So it's going to be very interesting on the 19th. We've got someone like the solo harpist and then an 8-piece jazz band following it. So it's going to be completely contrasting. I don't think you're going to fall asleep.
No.
Well, I mean, what a wonderful program of events you've got happening there, David. It's terrific. And there's this lovely pamphlet that you've had made up as well that I'm sure people will be able to find around various locations, these pamphlets.
Yeah, I've got some in L'Espresso. You
Yep.
can find them in L'Espresso.
And at the BMI, I
Obviously
suppose.
At the BMI.
Yep.
And a few other spots. And we should mention also that on the 18th, before this concert, is the start of the next series of Twilight Talks.
Ah, yes.
Which is happening at the Mechanics, and this is the 4th season. I think they have 4 for the year, and this is the last one for the year. So that starts the night before, and I'm sorry I didn't bring in the information on the Twilight Talks. But you'll be able to find it at the Mechanics Institute website, ballaratmi.org.au.
Absolutely. And I think they can tend to book out those events, I think, can't they? So it's a good idea
It gets fairly full.
Yeah, good idea to get onto that quickly and maybe... Can you book a seat?
No,
you just turn up.
No, just rock in. We've never turned people away. It's usually... If we get up to about 100, well, that's fairly full. But it is a concert setting. It's just chairs. It's not tables and chairs. So
and I think there is a donation. Do you make a donation, or is it $5 a head, something like that?
Yeah, it's $6 or $10.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it is a fundraiser for the mechanics, which is a not-for-profit organisation. So that's one of their key ways of, and it's always history based, of course.
Yep.
But what you get with your $6 and $10 is you get nibbles and wine beforehand, and people have been known to come and have their meal there.
Have they?
Yep.
A few
cheese.
gallery openings occasionally that happens.
Yes.
I have a feeling.
That's a problem when the quality of your cheese is just a bit
That's
too
right.
good. You've got to keep the quality of the cheese kind of moderate, I reckon.
Yes, yeah.
Anyway, I'm just mucking around, folks. I don't really mean that. But yes, the Twilight talks are fantastic. So what I will do is I can picture that event. I'm going to share it later on Facebook, on our Facebook page as well. So I'll share that link. So when's the next one coming up, did you say?
The 18th, so it's the night before.
Friday
this
week.
one.
That's Friday week.
And also we've got Tea and Oranges, the celebration of Leonard Cohen this Friday.
Yes, that we sort of interrupted that.
Yeah. This Friday it's in the Minerva space now.
Yeah. Now, who's performing at that?
So it's led by Chris Brennan, who's an old stalwart of the Ballarat music scene, and I'm going along. I haven't heard him yet, but this is the third and final performance of this group, from what I've heard, and I can just picture him singing Leonard
I
Cohen.
can too.
I reckon
It
he'd
just
do it
suits
really
him.
well.
Suits him.
Yep. So Chris has got a band together of six rough-looking diamonds.
Including Hap Hayward.
Happy Hayward and Brucey Schmidt
Yep.
and Jenny Brennan.
Yep.
Yep.
I
And
don't know this fella.
no, there's a few there that I have seen.
A
around.
mystery person in a hat.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't got all the information on that, but I do know that there are now tickets still available because it's moved to the Minerva.
Brilliant.
Tea and oranges.
Tea and
they're calling
oranges.
it.
So, I mean, isn't it amazing? So many events there at the BMI coming out of that place.
That's right.
I mean, it is a big venue. There are lots of different rooms and lots of different things that can happen. But yeah, a huge number of a variety of events always happening
Yeah,
there.
there's been a bit of opera this year too, and I know the Ballarat Grammar are there next week doing a sort of cabaret with a lot of their student groups.
Oh, good.
So they've come back for the second year. That'll be an enjoyable night. I don't think that's open to the public though. I don't think, but
Okay.
you know, there's a bit on in the next few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And do you think we've covered everything off at this point in time, David, or was there anything else?
I think we've done well.
Yeah, I reckon
mean,
we have too.
Considering I'm not Ronnie, and I'm sure Ronnie would know a lot more about these people than I do. I think I've winged it pretty well, don't you reckon?
I reckon you've done. I reckon I have a feeling you've done this before.
No,
Spoken on radio.
not for a long time.
So yes, well, hopefully the next iteration of this event is the 30th of November, and then there's one in January, as you said, the end of January, and then near the end of March. So perhaps we can get Ronnie in at some stage, and
I'm
your
sure
good
he'd
self,
be
of
happy
course.
to come in.
Oh, anytime. We're happy to promote any of these events and remind people that they're on, and give them that extra little bit of a plug. So
That's right. It's something completely different that's happening in Ballarat. And
Oh.
that's the good thing. There's so much diversity happening in Ballarat.
Indeed. And thank you very much, David. And I have a feeling I pronounced your surname incorrectly.
That doesn't matter.
I said Dahlenburg. Is that correct?
That'll do. That's good.
That'll do. When you said that'll do, I thought, well, it's not right if it'll do, but
No, that's all right. I don't mind Dahlenburg or Dahlenburg or
Yeah.
Dahlenburg
yeah,
or Dally as they knew me in Nil,
yeah.
and whatever you like to call me.
A man from Nil.
I'm not from Nil for nothing.
We'll talk about that next time. All right. Well, thank you very much. And I've decided that we're going to have a listen to a bit of Coco Sounds this time. So I'll pop that on, and we will be back with the arts program very shortly. So stay tuned, folks. We'll be back.
Chalget muciala bogenoir. On chalget muciala ulaba. On chalget muciala ulaba. Felicien me santaye mo. Sajilo ki be kulan baboka. Sajilo ki be kulan baboka. Sajilo ki be kulan baboka. Samen jilo console malere. Amen, moulin jilo Amen, jilo moulin donne-moi mon bébé maçon. Mon moulin va moulin. Mon moulin va moulin. Mon moulin va moulin. Mon moulin va
That was a track from a Coco Sounds. Oh no, it's actually the Boy Millennium Chorus.
Oh, that's what it was.
Coco
Oh, 'cause
Demure,
it's
Sounds
like
of
300 singers or
Seychelles.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah. I was in that.
the Mon Moulin Par Moulin Copra. I think that's how. So yes, performed by the Boite Millennium Choir with solo by Darren Bell. Well, so you were actually part of that.
My voice was in that
Oh,
choir.
how sweet!
I know.
Now, we have something a little bit special coming up next. We actually have a recorded interview. It's Rex Harrison. Rex Harrison. Oh, Rex Hardware.
He
Sorry.
was My Fair Lady,
Sorry.
wasn't he, Rex Harrison?
Sorry, Rex.
yeah,
It's been
Rex
a funny
Hardware.
night. Rex Hardware interviewing Garth Horsfield on the very last night that Babushka Bar was open in Ballarat. So it's from the 17th of November 2017.
That's right.
And yeah, so that it goes for about 10 minutes. We're going to have a listen to Rex interviewing Garth and talking about the bar. It was open for 6 years. And
I think it first opened in 2011.
11 it would have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was really, for people who perhaps have never been in there, that they had a lot of surfaces covered in carpet, including the stage and the floor. And it was always incredibly dark in there, wasn't it, Pot?
It was, yeah.
And there was a little stage as you walked in the door, and then there was a bar at the other end, but it was only as big as a sort of a small shop.
Yeah,
really.
it was very, very intimate.
Very, very intimate space, and the walls were painted black or very dark colour. So it was always very, I felt like a goth as soon as I walked in. Or perhaps I felt like the only non-goth and everybody else was a goth. But they weren't necessarily, not quite all of them, all of the time. But it was a unique venue that there was nothing else like it in Ballarat really, because it was like going into another little world. And I think Rex asks Garth about that a little bit in the interview. So
it's a lovely interview, and of course Garth goes into the name, like why it's called Babushka and all that sort of thing. So let us listen to that, folks, and we'll be back with some what's on after this interview. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
So the point is, it's November 2017.
Yeah.
And I think it was February 2011 that you started Babushka.
That's right.
So it's been 6 years.
Yeah, give or take a couple of months of me like slaving away in summer, Ballarat summer, trying to put carpet on the stage and things like that, sweating away. And my friends were popping in going, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "It's going to be my new bar,"
Well, just to go a little bit backwards from that though, I remember coming to this cool new bar called the Bar Saloon Bar in 2010.
Yeah.
It was in 2010.
Yeah. They were running it through that year. Yeah.
And it was a really interesting new thing for Ballarat. And suddenly they announced they were closing down. I think they were having a family, they were closing
Quite suddenly,
down.
yeah, well...
And you heard about this?
Yeah.
Who did you hear this from though?
Through them, I think. I'm not sure.
Because you'd come down here and have a drink.
Yeah, I used to hang out here, coming down and go, sit out the back and go, yeah, and just like...
Because it was really different for Ballarat, wasn't it?
It was, even in its like unadorned state.
First time Ballarat had seen something like that, I reckon.
Been a while since
the Granary Lane Cafe.
It reminded us of the rat days, yeah, because it wasn't glass and steel and chrome. It was just like, just a bunch of old couches.
So look, they'd nominated a price, but how did you hear that there was a price involved?
I'm not sure. I think I had to go up to them directly and say, "Hey, I've heard that you guys might be bailing." And it's like,
so you managed to manipulate your own financial situation to be able to walk in and have an empty space.
I borrowed some money, and I went a few months earlier.
You had a PA and had nothing to do with it.
I'd gotten a loan, and first thing I did was buy an awesome PA because I thought I want to take this rig around and just do gigs, and that was my business idea at the time.
One thing I've always found amazing, and tell me whether this is true, that Babushka's never actually seen your full PA, and it's only half the PA that Babushka's got, and you left the subs at home or something?
The subs, MRX 505s are just too big for Babushka, so I left them at home. But when you put them together with the top, it just extends the range and capacity of the whole.
I just hope one day we'll see some sort of outdoor festival or event that has your full system available.
Well, the only time I've ever heard them all cranking together, the cops came in about 5 seconds. It was just like, because bass just goes through walls, frequencies, earth, air and flash.
In central Ballarat.
Yeah, basically, in central Ballarat,
So you took over, I think, you guys negotiated at the end of 2010, you probably settled, but you had to get a liquor licence. Did you transfer their licence? Or?
Yeah, we did. They had all the permits set up. That took them months to do that, wrangling with council.
So you walked into an empty room, or?
Yeah, empty room with a few tables and chairs.
And what was your vibe, your visual vibe you wanted to set up for the space?
Immediately, my visual vibe was like, right, paint the roof black, darken it down a bit, make it a bit more glamour. I was thinking, goth sort of vibes. And then
of course, your artwork on the walls?
Well, anyone's artwork. I wanted to I bought a hanging system so that any artist that I knew could do a small exhibition on that wall, and I installed lighting for that purpose and everything, and I really wanted that to be used a lot,
And tell us about the development of your bar and wine list, and the cocktails particularly. Had you always had in mind
more
the kind of cocktails?
The devolvement of it, really, because when we first started out, we had a pretty fantastic range of everything, all pistons blazing. It was like, we had an amazing cocktail list, including ones custom designed by my big sister Carmi, who used to be a barmaid, like the Babushka cocktail, which has got the sour cherries and the this and the fresh mint and all that blah.
It was only available for 3 weeks, that one, I heard.
Well, it ended up going on for a lot longer than that, but it was such a pain in the bum to make that,
I've just had a memory of drinking the Babushka with the cherries in it.
Yeah, it's glamour. It's a really nice drink, but it takes about 10 minutes to make one.
And of course, people who are listening who don't know, the bar's called Babushka. It was obviously named after a Kate Bush
Kate Bush reference. But Kiwi was the cheeky one that suggested that, because Babushka, not only Kate Bush, but it's also a funny word that me and my friends in Melbourne used to use as a kind of derogatory sort of like, that's so Babushka.
So what were the names of some of the cocktails from Kate Bush songs that you developed?
We had the Fog, we had the Kick Inside, we had Infant Kiss, and we had Hounds of Love, I think was one as well. Waking the Witch, that was a Bloody Mary. Yeah,
It was popular.
yeah, they were all really Kate Bush titles, pretty much.
Right, so live music's obviously been a huge part of what's happened at Babushka. Did you do any calculations coming towards the end here of how many live music performances you think you presented?
I did a rough approximation, but you know me and maths. But yeah, I just pretty much nearly 6 years of 52 weekends a year, and mostly at least for add all that up, and it basically I don't know, amounts to hundreds of touring live artists, but hundreds.
So 50 over 6 years is probably 400 or 500 acts.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's been a lot of live recording of artists done at Babushka.
Yeah, I've got a huge, hard drive just full of labelled like sessions and blah 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 and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, I have a huge database of stuff which it would take me many hours to go through and figure out what's what, because it's not all labelled properly like it should be.
Now, 6 years is an eternity to run a live music venue in Ballarat, and a lot of water goes under the bridge.
Yeah.
What I'm thinking of is, for you, what are the absolute couple of highlight moments or gigs you can think of?
Having some artists play in my own little crappy bar in Ballarat that I used to, like Wendy Rule, for instance. I used to, as a little baby goth, I used to go and see her at the Dan O'Connell, and every week I'd just goth out and go and like worship her and go, oh, you're amazing. And then to have someone like that play in my bar in Ballarat, not only once but thrice, because she just appreciates and loves the sound and the vibe and everything, and that's great. You just go, oh my God, I must have done something right.
There was a huge gig with Matt and Beck from the Mavis.
Yeah, Matt and Beck came over, they played. We managed to do some sort of like throw together Immaculata reunion gig even, that was pretty funny. Just because...
Of course there were numerous Singers of the Black Book shows.
Yeah, yeah.
You do rehearsals up here, I think, would you?
Few of those. Oh yeah, we used to rehearse here. But it only came alive once we put the big like cathedral reverb on, it's like, which we did last night, which sounded fabulous.
And what other shows are in your mind as some of the most enjoyable nights you've had here?
We've had burlesque nights with Sophie doing comedy, with some pretty racy kind of stuff.
One of the highlights of Babushka over the years have been some of the great fundraising shows that have happened, usually in the later part of the year.
Yeah, you mean the mini day outs?
The mini day outs.
We had about
Tell us about
7.
those.
We had about 7 in the end. Originally started as an idea to help just like bolster the place a little bit and give it a bit of a lift for those expensive times of year when all the bills come in and blah blah blah. So it was really just a mini festival that we'd run over Saturday and Sunday and invite all the local artists to play and do a whole day of it.
There was one of them I remember it was broadcast live on Voice FM.
Right, okay.
And there was Birini and a few people out the back here
who
were doing hosting in between crossing to the live feed.
Oh my God,
off your mixing
okay.
bits. Do you
Well,
remember that?
no, I don't. Oh, well, I remember the gig, but yeah, it's like...
There have been a couple of huge World Sideshow Festival after parties here. What do you remember about those nights?
I remember the Lizard Man and the Freaks coming in. And
I think Bags did a huge set one year, didn't he?
yeah, Gus and Bags came up and played and...
So look, it's been a huge 6 years. You need to be congratulated. I'm trying to capture these few moments here with you just to reflect back and have a look. You've probably been involved for 25 years with either observing or performing or managing stuff in the Ballarat music scene. What do you think's going to happen in the future?
I would like to say, I've got a lot of hopeful ideas about what could happen, but I think we're going through a little bit of a hard patch, honestly. I think live music's taking a bit of a pummeling recently. Small little venues like mine is really tough to keep them going. There's not really much support, there's not really much. It's really a matter of, I think, getting the independent music scene more recognised as an artistic necessity for, Australian culture.
Absolutely. Well, hats off again for a great 6 years. We'll look forward to seeing what you're going to do, and hopefully something like this falls into your lap again as far as being involved in live music.
See, that would be great. I mean, the whole Babushka idea, like the sound design and the idea of Babushka as being specifically a musical venue for artists, of musicians, basically to appreciate art and hi-fi and beautiful live sound. if that could happen under the umbrella of maybe another business which was like capable of supporting it as a part of its business, that'd be great, and I'd be happy to be involved in that. But just as a solo enterprise, it's been a little bit financially tough, but it's been also very worthwhile as well.
Garth Horsfield, I've cornered you here in the corner of the beer garden for this quiet little chat. Thank you so much. Let's go inside and you can make me a cocktail.
Okay, no worries, mate.
So that was Rex Hardware and Garth Horsfield on the very last night of the Babushka bar. And as you can hear, it was a very ambient evening. And as Rex said there at the end of the interview, it was recorded there in the lovely little beer garden there. So you could hear a bit of the chatter in the background, and a beautiful sound, wasn't it? Like people enjoying themselves and
just the atmosphere.
Yeah, lovely atmosphere. So thank you, Rex, for getting that interview to us. We enjoyed it very, very much. So, I hope you enjoyed it, folks. So we're going to go to a little bit of... Will we go to some What's On now, or do we need some music?
Yeah, we'll do a little
Lynden?
bit of What's On and maybe some music pod and a bit more What's On.
All right.
Like
what have we got to start?
I'm just really excited by an upcoming exhibition at the Post Office Gallery. It's it doesn't open until the 25th of October, but it then runs for, it looks like 3 weeks, possibly, through to the 16th of November.
That'll be back to the normal schedule after the photo biennale comes to an end.
So it's an exhibition called The Revolution Is Us, and that's pretty topical, I reckon. But it's works by Joseph, now do you say Beuys, Beuyss?
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
And I'll just read what it's got in the little booklet, The Best of Ballarat, because it's hard to give an impression what a huge figure he was actually in the conceptual art movement. So here's what it says in the little book. Showcasing the work of German artist Joseph Beuys, one of the most influential conceptual and performance artists of the second half of the 20th century, a member of the 1960s Fluxus movement, Beuys is known for his highly original and controversial ideas, themes and practices influenced by a near-death experience and encountering the work of German sculptor Wilhelm Lehmbruck, setting in motion an art practice of public discourse through performance and actions, where everyone is an artist. And he was a really influential guy, and he's got a famous stare. He wears a hat, and he's got a famous, those eyes that sort of look right through you. But that's on at the Post Office Gallery starting on the 25th.
I know
it's
creating a little bit of a sensation, wouldn't you say?
I'd
People
say
are
so.
very much looking forward to that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hopefully, are we going to get Shelley in to talk about that?
We are next week.
Yep, fantastic.
She said yes and
Great,
coming in.
Terrific.
Also, Pod, there's, I think I mentioned last week, in connection with the Photo Biennale, the Words Out Loud mob have been doing these snapshot series where people have photographs and they tell stories or poems in relation to those photographs. And the theme of the next one, the next snap and the last snapshot series, which is on the 17th of October, when's that? That's tomorrow week.
Yes.
The theme is travel, and they've got a highly acclaimed poet and senior lecturer in creative writing at RMIT. Her name's Jessica Wilkinson, and she's the guest for that evening, so she will have some input.
Sounds
But
fantastic.
people can also turn up. It's always at the printer's room. And, I think that's an interesting idea, to show an image and then do some spontaneous writing and reading and speaking about that image. That's great.
Sounds terrific.
I've got one more thing. Do you want me to say that?
I think that would be great.
All right. There's a group call themselves Left of the Clique.
Yes.
Which I sort of find interesting. And they're having an event called Ballarat Zeitgeist, which is lovely. That's a nice word to say, Zeitgeist. At the Mallow Hotel on October the 30th from 6 till 8. It's this is a group of people, mostly creatives, who want to create real change in society and in the community. So they use phrases like creativity for real change, a new idea for Ballarat. And so it's a fairly, they want this this get-together at the Mallow to be sort of fairly focused. So they're going to divide people up into small teams to work together to co-create ideas for change. So it's not quite Extinction Rebellion, but it's a little bit like that in some ways. You know, they're creating ideas that will see real change in the community.
Yeah.
So that's a way of using your art skills and creative skills to try and combine that with issues that the world are facing at the moment.
Well, I think, these kind of events, they're great opportunities to actually turn up, hear what other people are saying. There is an opportunity for people to get together in small groups and discuss ideas. And there's something about getting in that kind of environment where you're throwing around ideas with other people and possibly working towards new ideas or some solutions with that group, that group mind, that hive mind thing, that's really quite exciting, I think.
Yeah.
You can play off each other's ideas and, be developing ideas and things like that.
And it can be energising instead of depressing.
Indeed. Indeed, yeah. I think there's a bit of is there a Ballarat focus for this event?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
so it's things to be happening and doing in Ballarat. So once again, it's the Mallow Hotel on October the 30th between 6 and 8.
Okay, yep. And look, keep in mind too, folks, that, sometimes you can come up with very sort of, simple, easy to manage kind of ideas. They don't always in terms of getting community involved and community participation, it doesn't have to be like, something, completely unmanageable. It might, you can come up with ideas that are very simple and very effective and very community and fun. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So that's all for your what's on for the minute.
Well, I could. You go.
Well,
and I could add.
There's an event that I've seen doing the rounds on social media called Intercultura, and you've probably heard me fiddling with the paper there because I was having a look around for the location, but I'm going to tell you what it's about. Intercultura, the 18th to the 19th of October in Ballarat, with special guest Craig Foster, who's a human rights ambassador, but is also very well known in the soccer world. He was very prominent during the Save Hakeem. I suppose when that soccer player was imprisoned overseas,
yes.
Australian soccer player, Craig Foster was very much at the forefront of making sure.
Right, he was on the telly even, and
a lot.
Right.
Save Hakeem, he was part of that. So Craig Foster is going to be part of this event, and Craig Foster is very well known in soccer circles, as I just mentioned. So on Saturday the 19th of October from 10 a.m, there's going to be intercultural football tournament for players of refugee background, world street food, then a girls-only football skills clinic hosted by Melbourne Victory football community, free soccer and community activities, and it's well open for everyone to go along to, and a gold coin donation. Now, if you want to find out more about this event, you can get updates at Interculture Ballarat. On the Friday the 18th from 6 p.m, there's going to be a meal, global dining with Peter Ford Catering, and a community dialogue with Craig Foster and guests, and some music being played as well. Now, just as an interesting note too, Craig Foster was Australia's 419th Socceroo and 40th captain of the club as well. Now, I just can't see where that is actually happening, so I'm going to encourage you to either go to the Ballarat Regional Multicultural Council to find out more about that, and I'm also going to put a link up on our Facebook page later that will tell you more about that event coming up on the 18th and 19th of October here in Ballarat.
Here's an interesting little exhibition, Pod. It's called Submerged, and it's stories of Australia's shipwrecks.
Okay.
Apparently Australia has 11,000 shipwrecks.
11,000?
Or over 11,000. That's roughly 1 wreck for every 3 kilometres of
That seems
coastline.
like a lot of
That's
shipwrecks.
a lot of shipwrecks, isn't it?
Why is that?
So I don't know. So Creswick Museum, which is in the main street of Creswick, is having an exhibition of, it's called Stories of Australia's Shipwrecks, regional, national and local, shipwrecks of regional, national and local importance. If you were wanting to go there, I know the museum's not open all the time, but you could easily find out when the Creswick Museum's open. So just if you're interested in shipwrecks,
Oh,
there you
at
go.
11,000 of them.
Yeah.
That's extraordinary, isn't it? Yeah. Now, look, something I've come across here in this, we've got a folder here of all sorts of different events. You know, it always amazes me how many different kind of things and activities and groups you can be involved in and around Ballarat. This is the Ballarat Engine and Machinery Preservation Society Incorporated. Have you ever heard of that before?
I've been to a gathering of such like in Gippsland.
You can do a bit of everything here in Ballarat, can't you?
It's
So
amazing.
the Best of Ballarat rally on the 20th of October out around Ballarat Airport Road, Mitchell Park area, showcasing all things Ballarat. Includes anything old and interesting. So there's going to be an outdoor display which includes Ballarat-made equipment, containers and packaging from Ballarat food and beverage processors operating from the 1880s. The outdoor displays will include a steamroller, road rollers, Ivy steam engine, all Ballarat-made. So I bet you didn't know that, folks. A large display of oil engines, many of which are built in Ballarat, as well as hay baling demo, pumps and threshers. There'll be cars, trucks and tractors and all sorts of engines and things on display. That's a gold coin entry to get in.
Yeah.
Gold coin, yeah.
Lake Goldsmith up near Beaufort has sort of a thing that's a bit similar, twice a year, which I was involved with once.
Oh, okay.
In a big performance event. Yeah.
We always know when that's on because some of the steam engines go past our house on the way to Lake Goldsmith, which is really cute.
Last one, Pod, maybe, because it's a bit of heralding who I'm talking to next week.
Yes.
There's an exhibition that's coming up. It starts on the 20th of October to the 1st of December. It's called Eyes of the Gatekeeper.
Okay.
And I'm quite excited to be talking to, I think her name's Anne-Marie, and she's the new gatekeeper of what we call the new cemetery, the one up the end of Lydiard Street.
Yes.
And she's taken a lot of photographs of the cemetery, sort of seen by her gatekeeper's eyes, and Anne-Marie Sloan. So I'm talking to her about that exhibition next week because so the exhibition's going to be on in the gatehouse, but the public can go up there and get some food.
How fascinating.
And see the exhibition.
So there's a little cafe up there as well,
There's
is that
a little
right?
cafe.
Yeah, how fascinating is that? So we'll hear more about that next Wednesday's show, and that will be wonderful. Now, all right, well, that's everything for tonight, folks. That's your 2 hours of arts and culture. There's a lot more we could talk about, but we're not going to because it's George's turn to come into the studio. Now, I'm going to try and play our exit music. I hope it will play, but otherwise I'll be going to a CD. But thank you all very much for listening, and I have a feeling that Rex is going to have a version of this that we can listen to online as well, so that's exciting too. So we'll be back next week with more. No, that's not going to play, so I am going to put on my CD, folks.
Tialget mucia la boga noir Chalget muchalava, chalget muchalava.